This is the Grow Business Podcast.
You
with
just
Cory
yawned,
Mosley.
and now it's content. I'm trying to hold it.
He's fighting it.
I'm trying to hold
You're fighting it.
hold the yawn. It's like doing
Did
the
I do
wave at a where everybody stands. You got to do the wave. I don't want to yawn. We're starting the podcast. We're supposed to be high energy right now.
We're bringing
We
it.
actually even started the clock.
Right.
Like we don't even know what's going on here. It's just anything going on.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm going to see if the pit plan we put him on last week to see if it worked out or not,
Right.
because you never know when it comes to him. Hello. I did my Oprah. One. I want to see how long I can hold it.
Ooh,
Hello. I could have gone longer,
You
but
could have.
people are probably like, what the heck is going on here?
Right, there's a
That
lot
was
of-
my Bill Withers.
Oh my goodness.
Because that guy, he can
it.
hold a lovely day for a long time.
Yes, he could.
Now, LG, that was back when you could leave your house and drive to work on the same song.
Yes.
You can't do that now.
No.
You can listen to a whole album on your way to work.
That's correct.
You can go through the whole thing.
And it's the same distance.
Yeah, I could. I could drive home. You put on something back in that day. You put on a Bill Withers or something, a Gap band or something.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I could go to the gas station, fill up, stop at the grocery store, get a few
Right.
things for dinner, and still pull in, and they'd still take it to the bridge. The bridge is still. That was an ode, right?
Oh my goodness.
Then don't have them put on an extended mix.
Right.
Because you could listen to a Cameo song.
Oh my goodness.
Cameo's Candy could go 19 minutes depending on which version that you got up. So,
Right.
and the funny thing is, I was a baby when that song was on, but I just grew up in a household where they
Right.
played music from that era.
Yeah.
So I'm very well familiar. And our listeners, I don't think our listeners are, because I looked at. Our listeners are probably, by and large, we're probably talking foreign to them. I'm curious. So I'm looking it up.
Sure.
So
look at demographics.
everybody, bear with me. Then I'll tell you what show you showed up on, in case you're in case you're wondering. No,
Right.
but I was looking at some of our episode demographics.
Okay.
And our listeners, I wanted to pull it up. So our audience is. Let me see here. Oh wait, it used to be there. I gotta look it up. It was giving me our data
Okay.
on. Okay, wrong one. That was my other podcast.
Oh.
Hold on, it's still in there. So it toggled. I was going to
Sure.
say we had way more listeners than this thing said here.
Right.
Yeah. So no, if I go to the analytics on this, our average, let's see, audience here. Now, do you want to take a guess of what our largest age demographic is for our listeners?
What's my range?
Your range. So your options are 18 to 22,
Okay.
23 to 27,
Okay.
28 to 34, 35 to 44, 45 to 59, and 60 plus.
I'd say 35 to 44.
So that is wrong.
Okay.
Our largest demographic, 28% of our audience,
Okay.
it says, based on the data, is in the 28 to 34 range,
Oh, fantastic.
which is very interesting because you could be all their daddies. 30, let me do the math. 34 at the top end.
Yes,
34,
it's possible.
44,
Yes,
54.
yes,
Okay.
I could
yeah,
be,
you could be all their daddies.
Right. Not at once.
Well, no, not at once. And I mean, 28. And, 1, 2, 3. I mean, if I got it in young, I
Right.
technically on the tail end, the early end of the 23 to 27
Right.
could be.
Right.
If I was,
got a
active
head start,
early.
right.
Yeah, very active early. But that 28% of our audience, and then 18% of the audience is 35 to 44. So
Okay.
the bulk of our audience is 28 to 44.
Okay.
It's interesting. Which doesn't shock me. I would have thought 35 to 44. I thought it would have been flipped.
Right.
And almost 9% of the audience is 23 to 27. That's very interesting
That's fantastic.
to me.
Yeah.
As well. I am surprised that the 45 to 59 demo
Right.
is like this.
Okay. Well, they already know it all.
It's very small. Is that what it is?
They already know it all.
I don't need no stinking coaching.
Right.
I don't need this podcast. I want to listen to podcasts about dead people and 48 hours. And
I want to listen
and
to that cameo mix.
murder mystery. Yeah, cameo mix. So needless to say, to our 28 34s and our 23 and 27s, look up Cameo, look up Gap Band, and Cameo. I'm not talking about the service that has people that, the celebrities that will do birthday messages for you. I'm not talking about that.
Right.
We're talking about the singer with the high top.
Who was the band?
Oh, by the way, this is the Grow Business Podcast. I'm your host, Cory Mosley.
Right.
In the guest chair is the king guest host, co-host with the mostest, LG007 here.
Voice of reason.
And the man hoping to redeem himself this week because he was clearly asleep behind the wheel is none other than Willie H is here.
Hit the buttons, William.
Okay, proceed, because you know as we forget.
Right. Well, actually,
where are we?
as we broke these musical references.
Yeah.
You know, by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be a little bit in the rearview mirror. But the dearly departed Quincy Jones, most recently,
yes.
So these music references in that time period and that time frame, all appropriate for that.
Yeah. Thanks for putting a date. What if I don't want to air this for like 3 months?
Well, that's okay. He's not coming back.
Oh. LG007.
I mean,
R.I.P. Quincy Jones. Holy moly.
He's not going to say, just kidding.
Our special guest next week, filling in for L. If you'd like to fill in for LG007 as he goes on a little vacaciones, send me an email if you'd like to fill in for him as he takes a break.
The dearly departed.
As he takes a break. The views expressed on the Grow Business Podcast with Cory Mosley are not views associated with Lon Graham 007, whose address is Lon Graham can be reached directly at 804.
Exactly.
Call him directly.
Right. That's exactly right.
All right. Anyway, so for those of you that are longtime viewers, you know the deal. We're here to talk about business growth, and we do that under the umbrella of my 5 pillars of business growth. LG007 is going to tell us what those are in the order that they belong in.
Oh, so you just upped the ante on that one. So we'll do mindset.
You had a whole week to figure this out.
Mindset, sales, marketing, operations, and people. Perfect.
Bingo! All right. Okay, he redeemed himself. Whew. That was good. I'm glad you redeemed yourself because I was getting concerned.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. He can still got to be punished for your. Yeah, you still got to be punished for your Quincy Jones comment. So we need to figure out what's appropriate there. Any guess what pillar we're going to cover this week? We covered people last week.
We did cover people last week. Let's go with sales.
Final answer?
Yes.
I think you have a complex to default because, like, sales is your kind of because you picked sales first last time. Like, I think you always default there.
Well, so yes, and there's a strategy to it too. Eventually, I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
but if sales wasn't it last time, then I got a 25% chance of being right this time.
Well, here's what I love. Okay, you're wrong. Number one, I love that, but no. Here's what I love. I love the impromptu nature of these conversations.
Right.
So here's what we're going to do.
Okay.
Since you have picked sales twice and it hasn't been sales.
Okay.
Next week,
all right,
it's going to be on sales. Next episode, it's going to be on sales.
Excellent.
And you're going to drive it. So you will be driving the conversation next week with the sales-related topic.
Sounds good.
And I will not know until...
You'll know that it's sales. You just won't know what it's about.
Correct. We will do role reversal.
Okay.
So next episode. So you're in the driver's seat on that.
Right, that's my punishment. Yay.
At least you'll be here.
Exactly.
Right. Could be worse.
Right.
You don't just get to show up and comment.
But
at least you get to show up.
Right.
That's what's important, right?
Right.
Okay. because I'd hate just have a sport coat thrown on the back, a highlighter, and a sport coat thrown on the
and a sport coat,
and a sport coat, or just a pocket square laying on the table
exactly.
with the new guest host. Okay, so this week we're talking about marketing.
Okay,
and this week I'm going to be very specific and very self-serving.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about how to effectively pitch yourself as a business owner to secure media coverage. We're going to talk about media.
Okay.
And appearing more in the media. We're going to talk about thought leadership.
Yes.
And the impact of that. And some steps to getting more opportunities in media.
Absolutely.
Okay. And of course, we'll button hook that with the fastest, easiest way,
right?
To do that as an opportunity. So we're going to focus on marketing. If you're watching us, if you're streaming us on YouTube or you're watching the video version on Spotify, you see Position for Growth book is right here on our table. That is my latest book that talks about and goes deeper into the 5 pillars of business growth and talks about how you can modernize your business to achieve a record revenues. Available on Amazon.com. Super excited with that. Still doing well.
Good.
I just like the idea of we get pictures. People will send in the pictures. I ask, people send in pictures holding the book and we'll post them. I just like that idea. I mean, the fact of the matter is you're writing a book to share your knowledge with the world. Unless, if you're fortunate to be Daniel Steele or Dean Koontz or Koontz, or Tom Clancy.
Right.
I mean, you get big dollars.
Right.
Or even if you're a big name in whatever. Otherwise, it's us as a labor of love.
Right.
It's a labor of love.
Right.
I mean, I love doing events, and there's 300 people in the room. And they all have the book on the table. So I'm really excited about that, and we've been getting great feedback. So if it's something that you're interested in supporting, you want to get some knowledge, it's great.
Yeah. Well, and this is an extension
great.
of the content.
Great.
Great. Now that would be a sponsor for us that I grew up eating.
Tony the Tiger.
Oh, absolutely. All right, Kellogg's, if you're out there.
We'll work on it.
Yeah.
We can't, no free media to anybody.
No.
Somebody heard they're going to go out and buy Frosted Flakes.
Right.
No.
Yeah, well, all right.
I think it's nostalgic. Cereal's nostalgic.
Oh, it is.
I mean, by and large, a lot of it will kill you, but allegedly.
Well,
always gotta say that. I mean, it will, but I don't keep cereal in the house as a general rule.
Okay.
But my wife and I you'll get that taste.
Right.
We're like, oh, and then we'll go buy, what we like.
Right.
And then gorge on it.
Right.
Pay the price for that later. And then, see you later 3-4 months.
Well, that local grocery store near us offers incentives. If you buy 3 boxes, you get this much off. And if you buy 5 boxes, you get...
so crazy.
So they're
Think about the Costco's in the world where you're coming out of there with 19 boxes of cereal.
Right.
Where do people store all of that stuff?
I don't know.
When you're buying in bulk like that, that's you've got racks in your garage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Willie H is shaking his head.
You got
a gang of kids at the house, and you've got the boxes. So, but there are people who just stock up because Armageddon's coming.
Right.
I heard an ad for Life Provisions.
Right. That 72-hour thing.
You've heard it? No. Yeah. But it lasts for 30 years or something.
Right,
Beef stroganoff, good till 2072.
Right. But it says you need to have 72 hours or 3 days worth of provisions up front.
Yeah.
And then it'll last for...
I looked at my wife in the car. I said, this is a real ad. This is real money somebody's spending, which means somebody is calling or dialing in and ordering a life kit, survival kit that's good for 30 years in case Armageddon comes.
Yes.
Yikes.
That's true. Yes, that's also true. Yikes. Right.
All right, I said what we're talking about today.
You said we are talking about marketing.
Okay, yeah, marketing. Well, media in particular. People don't understand the power. I mean, I don't think a lot of people don't understand the power of media.
Correct.
We're doing media right now, right?
Yes.
So, and what is the purpose? Right. The purpose is we share some ideas. As we always say, we're not here to be your gurus. We share some ideas, based on our history, experience, some things that work, talking about some things that we know don't work definitively, really to give you a leg up or give you an opportunity, to better position yourself for growth.
Correct.
Oh, there's a book named that.
Maybe this guy can help me.
Yeah. But that's the fundamental fact. I mean, the idea is, right, people reach out after hearing some things we have to say that are important, and maybe they have greater needs. And it's a thought leadership play, right? It's not a,
yes.
Maybe at some point it becomes sponsored or it grows itself to a certain level, and now it becomes more of a monetization tool. But the reality of it is we're sharing some ideas.
Correct.
And maybe you think we're smart and we can help you. And if you're in a position to do that, then we do some business, right? As we do, with clients all over the country. But that's by and large, we're just in a position to take control of our own media in a lot of different ways. But media, is such a huge way because media is instant authority. When somebody sits in that interview chair,
right,
they are the authority.
Yes.
Now, if time proves later on that they don't know what they're talking about or they're not as good as they sounded in a chair, that's a different story.
Right.
But there really is that authority, and that is a very overlooked opportunity. Media, speaking, appearances, getting out there, particularly if you're in professional services, businesses, where you're a CPA, right? It's not just about your ability to do somebody's taxes,
right?
Because you're competing with fellow CPAs and technology,
right,
and the online, people, and the bookkeepers, and the people who have built a better mousetrap or are using these things. So your ability to be a resource, to be looked at as an expert or whatever, not only can help you from a financial standpoint in terms of what you charge for services. But also just really staying relevant in the game.
Well, and to your point too, and we'll talk about different types of media and how to utilize it. But if you're a CPA specifically, you're competing with, and starting about the middle of January of every year, you compete with the people that advertise tax services.
Sure.
Online tax services, we'll do it for you. You'll get this much back. We'll save this much money.
Yep.
That's who you're competing with. And what are they using? They're using media to advertise and promote their services. So to your point, Cory, if you're not doing it, you're not distinguishing yourself and you're not creating a voice for yourself.
Right. I mean, and it's also, it's a value. There's a place for everybody. There's people that still use travel agents.
Correct.
Because travel agents have a unique perspective, real ones or good ones, professional ones, have a perspective that Expedia just can't. My uncle's been in the travel industry for a long time, and he tells this kind of story about Bora Bora and this couple that thought they were going to save money. Oh well, we don't. We're just going to book it on Expedia. Now, going to a place like Bora Bora is a very sophisticated travel itinerary in a lot of different ways.
Correct.
Right? In terms of how you get there, flights, logistics, properly preparing, international. It's a long flight being there. And I can't recall, like he obviously tells a story better than I, but fundamentally, those people were booked through Expedia.
Correct.
Or online travel site. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Allegedly, whatever. I say all the disclosures there, whatever I'm supposed to say. Had booked through the service, and it wasn't the service's problem, so I don't have a problem saying it was Expedia. But that's hands off, right?
Do it yourself.
So yeah. And then something happened. I think with the flight or location or whatever, and there was nobody to help them because that's not what they do.
Right.
I'm not saying they don't have customer service or whatever, but not the same as being able to call your travel agent.
Correct.
So these people were in the middle of their itinerary. Things had gone left, and they're on the phone calling my uncle.
Oh, no.
Who they didn't book with,
right.
Asking for help. And he did help them,
right?
Although he had no obligation to do so. But, that's an error. But see, that only works or only is helpful for him if he uses his mouthpiece or marketing opportunities to help you understand the difference.
Correct.
Right? People need to know that sometimes the bigger the vacation, the more you should invest with an actual agent. And they're price regulated. Like in terms of so it's not like you're going to a travel agent and like you're paying 10 times more than because they have the hotels regulate the pricing. There's a lot of different things that are regulated. I mean, Delta regulates the flight. So
correct.
you're really doing yourself a disservice.
Right.
It's kind of like my dentist is like one of the most beautiful dental offices in history.
Right.
My insurance, he charges my insurance the same thing. I don't pay more
Right.
to go to get Starbucks coffee. I don't know why I'm drinking Starbucks coffee when I'm at the dentist, but to get Starbucks coffee or LaCroix waters,
Right.
or to get lavender oils dropped on my bib so I can have aromatherapy, or to
Okay.
have nice warm blankets. He has a menu.
Okay.
There.
Fantastic.
But that's the same price to
Right.
me as going to the rundown dusty guy who, doesn't think you need to paint or change a doorknob.
Right.
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 So I'm just making that point for a reason. What reason am I making that point?
You are making that
LG.
point because you want people to know that not only is it important to distinguish yourself, there are ways to do that. And
Correct.
there are ways
Correct.
that you can control.
And you've got to get in
and
front of
there
it.
are ways that you can't control.
Like, you've got to get in front of it.
Yes.
We had on one of our shows a State Farm agent.
Okay.
So State Farm's already well known.
Right.
Everybody knows Jake from State Farm with,
Right.
with the khakis, old Jake and new Jake.
Right.
So we know that State Farm's not a brand you have to struggle to ask people if they recognize it.
Correct.
But why is she in a media? Why is she on a show? Why is she doing media?
Right.
Well, because I type in State Farm near me, I get 12 agents.
Yes.
So even if you're under the umbrella of a big name or franchise name or something along those lines, there are still things you need to do to be. So now she works for a great brand and has a great reputation. Fantastic.
Right.
She doesn't work for Joe Blow Insurance where nobody
Correct.
knows. So now you've got to explain that too. But now you've got to stand out inside an organization
Right.
that is standing out, and you're running your own business under their
Right.
umbrella.
Correct.
So media is what plays a role. So you alluded to it a little earlier, LG, just in your general conversation. But number one is identifying the right media outlets, right? So
Correct.
identifying the places that that cater to your target audience. Of course, for that to work, you have to know your target audience. You have to have identified your target audience, or the people or the outlets that cater or specialize in your, industry. So,
Correct.
what are the publications, the trade magazines? What are the podcasts or even the TV stations that align, with your business and your message? So, obviously it's well known that, I was a co-host on a TV show, on a morning show for a number of years on a CBS affiliated station. And, we had all kinds of people on,
Right.
but the reality of it is we still had a demographic.
Right.
And I could tell you of all the times I was accosted in the grocery store because someone recognized me from the show, it wasn't like, a 22-year-old college student,
Right.
because that's not the demo.
That's not who's watching
That's
that
not the
show
demo
at
of
that
9
time.
a.m. to 10 a.m. show.
Correct.
Where we're, cooking, scallops and whatever,
Right.
or we're talking about the 10K walk that's being sponsored.
Right.
So there still was a demographic. So if you were in a certain business, everybody wants to be on TV.
Right.
No matter what, just the idea of it.
Right.
It was, I loved doing it.
Oh yeah.
But everybody wants to be on TV. But if it's not the right demographic,
Right.
that's important too. So you got to choose the right outlets.
Yeah, and look, I mean, what's the saying that no press is bad press? Well,
Right. No publicity is bad publicity.
yeah, exactly. But the reality of it is you do want there's good, better, and best, right? You do want to maximize the effectiveness of it, and in order to do that, you need to know who you want to reach, and then identify the best ways to do that. Like you talked about, if you're reaching professionals in a certain industry,
Right.
well, then you want to be in that trade publication.
Sure.
You want to have messaging
Right.
to that targets that audience.
When I was in the auto industry, I wrote for auto publications.
Correct.
I had a column in F&I and Showroom Magazine. I had a column in Digital Dealer Magazine.
Right.
I hosted a show on CarBiz Today,
Right.
which is what this studio is based on,
Right.
CBT News, which served that audience.
Right.
So I would get interviewed as often as I could. That made sense, right?
Yes.
So you got to identify the right media. That's number two. Also, find relevant journalists or editors or people connected to the media. So don't go sending your pitch or your idea to the general mailbox.
Right.
Right. You want to find a specific, you want to get on a local morning show. If you want to get on our local morning show, I'm not going to put her name out there because there's enough people emailing her pitches, but you want to find who's the producer
right.
of that show. You don't just want to be in the general population. So you want to find out specific people, whether that's journalists that cover topics related to your industry, and have a more personal targeted approach, because that's going to increase the likelihood. Now, mind you, they're getting, 60 pitches, 100 pitches,
right?
Maybe a day.
Well, and if you don't get it to the person that has the ability to say, yes, your message deserves to be heard, or your message should be heard, then you got no shot. If you get it to the right person, you have a shot.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and ultimately, you've got to have an angle.
Yes.
It's not just, oh, my book's out, you should have me on.
Right.
Right. It's what's in the book.
Right.
That would be valuable.
Right.
Right. So it's about the topic that you're solving for whatever that outlet is, audience, the value you're going to bring there. So you got, I wrote a book. Congratulations.
That's awesome.
Right.
Well,
I wrote a book on accounting. You should have me on the show.
Right.
Well, I know you want to be on to promote your book. So how does that help the audience?
It's how do you align the message with the people that will hear that message?
Yes.
Yep. Or
frame your pitch around the story's angle that's relevant, timely, interesting to their audience.
Right.
Right. So now that could be wrapped around a customer success story. That could be wrapped around an achievement. That could be wrapped around some unique approach, to your business.
Right.
But you've got to have, and you notice, I didn't say craft a story.
Right.
I said craft a compelling
story. Right. Yeah.
Right. It's got to be interesting.
This might be a guy I want to work with.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you want. I tell this to every business owner. You are trying to crack the code with a prospect of, can this person help me?
Yes.
Are they credible? Are they competent?
Right.
To help me?
Right.
And at every stage of everything that you say, I had a consult with a business owner last week, and I looked up in our system and I noticed that he'd been on our newsletter for 6 months.
Okay.
If you're not on our newsletter, go to CoryMosley.com and go to newsletter. You can sign up. He'd been on our newsletter for 6 months. He was at an event. He was an attendee at an event that I spoke at.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Back in, May or whenever it was.
Sure.
And then he reached out. So all that was matching his viewpoint on a need.
Right.
With the consistency of here. So whether it was the sixth message.
Right.
For him to go, I think this guy could help me.
Right.
Right. As Willie H said, I've heard enough to take the next step.
Right.
That's how this works.
It is.
Is people saying, I've heard enough to take the next step.
Right.
And then sometimes that next step is a full-on out engagement in terms of business. Sometimes that's a booking a call to talk. Sometimes that's coming to your physical location to learn more. Sometimes that's making a small purchase with you before they make a big purchase with you. I'm dealing with a new bank.
Okay. And
I put a check in. Is a larger check, and they're like, well, we've never seen this we've only seen smaller deposits from you. I said, yeah, but that was the point.
Right.
I didn't want to have I give you small deposits to see what you do. So if I make a big deposit, everybody doesn't go insane.
Right. I can have confidence.
Right. Or it's setting off all these bells and whistles. Right. So like the dog, what chicken or the egg here.
Right.
Right. So, and that's all it is. And media helps you do that. So, having your media in the right place.
Right.
So if you're an accountant, I don't know that you're on the, Wiffle Ball Today podcast. people always say I come up with the most ridiculous examples of things. Oh, well, I'm doing podcasts now. Oh, great. Are you? Yeah. What were you on? I was on Wiffle Ball today.
Wiffle today, right?
Yeah. What were you talking about?
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, I thought you said you were a CPA. I am, but that's who gave me a shot.
Right. Like
So I gave him my best 20 minutes.
They had a slot that I could fill.
Yeah, exactly. And now listen, there is definitely a Wiffle Ball Association in America, because from working with associations these past few years, I can tell you there's an association for everything.
There is,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And wiffle ball's not that far of a stretch.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not.
National Swizzle Stick Association.
exactly.
It's there. All right, so you got to craft a compelling story. Next, of course, showcase your expertise. Position yourself as a knowledgeable source who can provide insights, quotes, tips relative to your industry. Because journalists out there, people who are giving media attention, particularly earned media, which is, them calling you and getting you're not paying anything, but doing that. They're looking for subject matter experts who can add depth to their stories. Like, they have the story already.
Right.
They want some extra comment, maybe an angle that they haven't considered. And, in automotive, I was known to give, good commentary, good sound bites.
Right.
But also be available and fast.
Okay.
Because many times they're calling you on a deadline.
Right.
Hey, working on something. I got to submit it by Friday. Maybe you can help me out with it.
Right.
Boom, I'm calling. I get a call from a journalist. I'm calling back fast.
Yeah. That's
because a lot of times, and I want to be known for somebody that can call in a clutch or get on in a clutch.
Right.
Right. Once you start that history, my past people ask me what did I spend those years on a morning show?
Right.
But I wasn't a call for. I didn't go to a cattle call and apply. I had been a reliable guest, like a reliable, likable guest on the show that had good content for the audience.
Right.
And they saw they saw that opportunity.
Right.
And it just kind of worked out based on timing and structure and where the station was and the time of day and those things, that the stars aligned for me to be able to, do it. But that was because I showed up and showcased my expertise and was reliable and delivered. And that's how, now it led to, other things.
Well, you had, say the same thing a different way, Cory. You had proof of your ability. And that proof demonstrated credibility for the people that were looking for somebody. And when they came down to choosing, they had a lot of content to choose you to see how you handled yourself in that situation. And they can have confidence in you because they've seen what you're able to do because of the media that you put yourself in.
And what's important here is have your talking points.
Right.
Be ready to go. Right? As the saying goes, stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Right.
If a news organization called right now, or not right now, but right now, and said, "Hey, we need you to weigh in on something," as long as this is my wheelhouse, I'm ready to go, right? So it's a easy point to start, when you're prepared already,
right?
So being ready to do that is important. Now, if you're doing outreach, having strong subject lines, basic things, because you want those producers, you want those people to open it. So if you're if you're emailing pitches, catchy, concise subject lines, because that can make or break,
right?
Whether or not it's not like have me as a guest on your show.
Right. Well, remember, like you said, let's say conservatively they're getting 60 pitches a day for 2 spots. Well, that means that they've got to go through 60 pitches to fill those 2 spots. How are you distinguishing yourself so that they'll at least give you an opportunity to talk about it?
And many times they have research. I mean, the one thing I can tell you about morning show television is there is a lot of redundancy. Okay. So, we saw the same people over and over again. I mean, there'd be new people that crept in there, but there were old reliables. Right. I knew we were talking this travel person we talked to every, 90 days. This person we talked, the person on finance we talked to, they were staples in the guest category. A coach that was featured regularly. Right. Because once you get in, I mean, sometimes obviously the most difficult part is getting in, is getting the shot. But once you get in and you deliver, and you drop the ball, especially on live television, you got a problem. But that's the other reason why, some of the work that we do with our thought leadership interviews is so important, because that's recorded, so that's taped, so you have the 2 minute work on that. Right. But what people don't get is you invest in that, but that's a demo reel also for other opportunities.
Yes.
Because the other thing you deal with is a lot of people, if you don't have, it is a chicken or the egg scenario that you live and die by too.
Right.
If you don't have a portfolio, if you haven't shown that you can perform, particularly for people who want to be on TV and want to be on live television, everybody wants to be, my friend Del Toro's on his 7th trip to the Today Show.
Good for him.
I still haven't gotten a referral. I mean, the classic hooker brother up. I haven't seen that yet. Can you drop my media reel to somebody over there while you're in there? But whatever, no pressure. Della Toro McNeil. Dr. Della Toro McNeil paging.
Right.
Dr. Della Toro McNeil. But everyone wants to do that. But that at that level, they're not putting you in the game if they haven't seen something.
There's no proof.
If they haven't seen you before. You get on live television with a gabillion people. I don't even know what the number, but let's just call it a gabillion people watching, and you choke out.
Right.
That's bad TV for them.
Right.
That's bad for their audience. That's bad for them. That's bad for their producer. It's kind of like the reason why in the speaking world, right? Many of us pursue the CSP designation because the CSP designation, because it has a whole host of you can't just buy it.
Right.
You pay a fee to submit to get it, but you can't buy it. You've got to go. They research 250 presentations. They talk to 20 plus of your previous directly to you. You can't fake the funk. They go directly to previous clients. There's a viewing committee of other CSPs that review your video to get in. So, but what that message says to a meeting planner in that world is that you've been vetted.
Correct.
And that anybody can have a bad day, but by and large, the chances are low that you're going to go choke out on the stage that they put you on with 1,000 people in the room.
That's right.
Right. So it's the same thing there. So leveraging situations, like I said, self-serving show, but it's self-serving only to the degree that what we do brings a lot of value to, we have a ton of 5-star reviews, over 100 some odd people that we've created and curated interviews for. So, but it really is a launch pad, particularly if you're looking to get more media attention.
Right. Well, and there's a credibility component, Cory, that you continue. It's the underlying theme of this is how do you demonstrate that you know what you're talking about? How do you demonstrate that you're going to show up in a way that distinguishes you from anybody else? So, yeah, absolutely.
Woo. Let the church say amen.
That's good.
He was waiting on that. I saw his finger get tired. He was waiting for a break in the thing to do that.
Yeah.
So yes. So you want to have that. That was all about subject lines, but it was also wrapped around the compelling message and being ready. So if somebody asked me right now, I could simply go right into that. Right. So I believe a lot of business owners right now are being taught that they should change. They have to change, but change is really not what they need. What they really need to grow is to get positioned for growth.
Perfect.
Right?
Correct.
And then you pivot in that. And to properly get positioned, you have to look at your business growth challenges within the 5 pillars.
Right.
So again, have that ready. Right. If you're a CPA, if you're a business coach, if you're a tax attorney, if you're a landscaper, right? You're at an event, you're in landscaping. Like, are you ready to go? If I needed to talk about the impact of climate change and tropical whatever, or the infestation of whatever into the market, can you go on as an expert in landscaping and horticulture or whatever, botany or whatever, and talk about that? What are your talking points that I can call upon you for in an instance? So I think that, and there's people that miss opportunities there. So, I have a friend who, interesting stories come up, but I think there was an opportunity. So there's a lot of stuff going around about, the media mogul, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Sean Combs, all those people. And him being jailed and the place that he's jailed.
All right.
So I have a longtime friend who, in another life, led a different life and was in that facility.
Okay.
So, and he has some profile in the industry, and we were talking, and it was when that news cycle was hitting hard, we talked about it after the fact.
Right.
Man, because they would have people on, like prosecutors, like the big outlets, CNN, Fox, would have prosecutors on, or what is it like in there? They were asking people who were there, who had been in there but weren't in there, like
Right.
the attorneys that would go there. And I'm like, dude, you missed an opportunity. I would have hit every producer up and said, here, as they're commenting on what it's like for him to be in that facility,
Right.
because he was in there with the Unabomber.
Oh, okay.
Crazy
Yeah.
story. But like, I would have hit all those producers
Right.
with, real life former convict guy.
Right.
Now he's a multimillionaire, whatever, but business owner, very successful business owner. But he could, like, they could have eaten that up. And he's been on different TV stations and he has,
Right.
media background. So he could have gotten on and talked. It would have been a great opportunity. He could have hit that circuit
Right.
hard, talking about what's life's like in that Brooklyn Penitentiary Center and what P. Diddy's thinking about right now and
Right.
the kind of conditions it's in. But like, you thought about it after the fact. So you also have to be media ready. So
Correct.
don't wait till you're just trying to pitch to get a pitch.
Right.
If that makes sense, right? Having that pitch ready. So the next one that leads into is to also, if you're pitching, and we're talking about pitching, is get to the point, right? Keep the pitch concise and engaging.
Right.
So you want a compelling opening. You want to explain why your story matters
Right.
and is, and is necessary in terms of a context. And, ask them to be, ask them to interview you. You're ready. You're available.
Right.
Quick turnaround, whatever, to be able to do that. Getting to the point is very important.
Yeah, and goes back to the beginning too, though. When you're positioning yourself for these media opportunities, remember to position yourself as somebody for their audience, not what you can do, but how their audience is going to appeal to the person that you're pitching, because it's going to appeal to the audience that they're reaching.
I like it.
Voice of reason.
Now, I made way more points. We're going to have to re-examine this bull. He can't be coming in with a 10-second thing, and I've been making points for 5 minutes, and here he comes, and he's voice of reason. We're going to reevaluate. Well, I'll start leaving space, because this is some,
Catch your breath.
as what is it, Coach Promise said, this is some bull jive.
Let the church say amen.
Some bull jive
Right.
over here. Okay. Share your credentials. Again, this is pitching, right? Getting media exposure. So if you have credentials, awards, achievements that reinforce your credibility,
Right.
that will make your story or pitch more newsworthy.
Right.
And the problem is, a lot of people spend so much time not trying to showcase that.
Right.
Because see, you can't win, right? If how do you know somebody's from Harvard? They'll tell you.
Right.
They've got no problem telling you.
Right.
Right. And you go, oh, okay, Harvard, we're gonna hear Harvard again. But you can't win.
Right.
Right? Because now if you don't say that, because that has value and mileage.
100%.
So if you don't say that because you want to live in Humbletown,
Right.
there's opportunities that get missed.
Right.
Right? I mean, folks, this is life. Do I want the Harvard doctor or do I want the guy from John Jay Community College? I'm not knocking community college. I'm
Right.
just saying we live in a judgy society.
We do.
I don't care what's right. I don't need this isn't a moral conversation of what should be. I'm living in reality.
Well, and there's an expectation of performance based on that background.
Yeah.
So you expect that a Harvard-trained physician
Correct.
is going to be much more talented than somebody who couldn't get into Harvard.
And here's the kicker. That could be right or wrong.
It doesn't matter, right?
Right?
That's correct.
Somebody that went to Harvard was making a point. I won't say who it is because it's polarizing depending on what you think. But
Right.
Nonetheless, his point was, I met a lot of dumb people at Harvard.
Right.
Hold on, Buckaroo.
They might have been smart in the degree of getting in,
Right.
and that could happen different ways, right? Legacy, other things like that. But they weren't, they weren't necessarily the brightest light in the drawer. They shouldn't they shouldn't be running anything, right?
Right.
But that part doesn't matter yet.
Right.
It's simply the advantage or what the opinion of someone who says that.
Right.
I believe there are great lawyers that went to marginally respected, let's put it that way. I'm not saying education, but I believe there were great lawyers, the super lawyers, that might have gone to marginally respected law schools.
Right. That don't have the same level of expectation.
Right.
that
And there are
Harvard
people who
does.
went to great law schools that are not great lawyers.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've got stories. So, but that part we don't know. We're talking about perception first.
Well, we're talking about how do you establish your credibility?
Right.
And the way to establish your credibility is to tell people what you've done.
Right.
And if you don't,
Right.
nobody will.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it's true. And it's just, because as we're talking about this, I think back to, the number of people that we've talked to,
Right.
As it relates to in the interview series and these other things that we do with media.
Right.
And it's like, people will have me on the phone ad nauseum about they did this and they did that and they did this. Great. Still I still don't see any interview.
Right.
I still don't see any media attention on your website. I don't see you. How are you explaining that?
Right.
You have to articulate that face to face every time.
Every single time you have a
That
conversation.
sounds
Right.
terrible.
Right.
Right. So you don't have a way. And the kicker is, I don't care if you own a plumbing company.
Right.
I'm still buying confidence. So I still want to see you
Right.
get in this chair and talk about plumbing
Right.
and how
You
important it
better
is.
Believe it.
Yeah. and things that you need to be doing and what consumers need to know about and show your expertise.
Right.
Because I want to know who's confidently, running the joint too.
Correct. I want to believe that the person's coming to my house knows what they're talking about.
100%.
And media does two things for you, Cory, and this is really what it comes down to, why it's important. One is it allows you an opportunity to distinguish yourself in terms of credibility. The other thing it does, it allows you to reach people that you would never be able to reach on your own or
Right.
one-on-one. It allows you to reach people at scale.
And we've got those stories.
Yes, we do.
Of people who who were cold calling or couldn't break through, but
Right.
now we're able to use their interview and use media to do that.
Right, because somebody saw me.
Yes.
They're like, I want to talk to that person. We've heard those stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I think about so many times, and we're talking about media in particular, but media is also like speaking engagements and it's other ways to use that. I can't tell you how many times I was hired to consult because someone bought the recording. They couldn't even attend the event.
Right.
But the event, I can think of a handful of clients right now in my head over 20 years
Right.
that weren't even present there, but they bought the recordings,
Correct.
heard me on the recordings,
Right.
and called me from that.
Well, and because they weren't there, they wouldn't have seen you in person.
Right.
Because they bought the recording.
Right.
You had
Right.
reach that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
Right. Now, they bought the recording from there. I didn't make any money off the recording, but
that's not the point.
I made way more in the long run.
Well, you
by
made money
having
off
them a
the
client. Yeah,
right. You
correct,
made money
correct,
off the recording
correct.
because they bought it.
Correct.
Not
So that
to-
was media, right? That was me talking in public.
Correct.
And now someone doing that.
Correct.
Much more than any advertisement,
Correct.
right? So it's just important. And that kind of talking about that is also, we touched on it a little bit, but like the idea of providing supporting materials, right? So have you been featured in other things? Have you been covered in other things? Have you been quoted in other things?
Right.
So, even photos, like particularly if you're talking about doing things that are, visual, TV,
Correct.
those type of things, recorded video podcasts. But providing those support materials, also personalizing your pitch. So don't be generic, tailor pitch to the media outlet. Make references there. So again, you could still work off of a template, so to
Correct.
speak, but you can't be late. You can't just phone it in.
Right.
People, well, only because I live it.
Right.
But people want to skip the work. I know it's a lot. There's 100 people on your list.
Right.
I know you wish you could just pass it off to somebody. If you're in a position to do that economically, financially, or whatever, I don't recommend. I think you need to get. I think everybody needs to. It's kind of like who's that guy? I don't remember his name. He goes around doing like the dirty jobs, the tough jobs. He's a famous. He's like a.
Come on, Mike Rowe.
Yeah. He gets
okay.
under there.
Right.
But I tell every business owner, you got to sell the first 25 deals.
Right.
Before you bring on, you should have salespeople, you should have that, but you need to be able to sell your own deal. So you
Correct.
understand what that looks like and get good at that and get better at that and have that skill.
Right.
You can't just be a baker. You need to know how to push those cookies too.
Well, and the ability to sell, it helps you shape your message and the communication,
Right.
so that when you get in front of media, You already have the message.
And that's what you're selling.
Right.
You're selling your thought leadership.
Correct.
You're
Well,
selling,
yeah, right.
Yeah, you're selling the fact that you know what you're talking about
Right.
and that you're able to provide value in the marketplace.
That's correct.
Right?
Yes.
And if you're like my good friend Willie Jolly, you make sure you say your website
Right.
17 times
Correct.
in 2 minutes.
He's a marketing
Right?
machine.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Willie Jolly, Willie and D Jolly out there.
Fantastic.
But yes, and he's going to get it in. Like me saying, go to CoryMosley.com to join
Right.
our newsletter, check out Position for Growth books. Also, learn more about what we're talking about here, right? You can be in this chair, not on this podcast, but we produce a number of shows that you can be featured on. If you are a business owner, you are an association, you are a realtor, you are an insurance agent, you are just an author, a speaker. Government. We just, covered mayoral races.
Right.
So there's so many different ways to have an impact, particularly because there's always people, oh, well, I'm trying to get on this podcast. I'm trying to get on that podcast.
Right.
I'm waiting for so-and-so to get back to me. I'm waiting for this. Well, you can come here tomorrow.
Correct.
Take control of your media,
Right.
right? Get you right in the interview chair.
Yeah, and look, I've been on other podcasts as a guest talking about sales and sales leadership and expertise, and some of them are a direct result of sitting in this chair talking with you about business and small business and growth and position for growth. It's like, wow, Lon, would you be willing to come talk to us about what you know?
I got to do those Lorne Michael deals. Because everyone who appears on Saturday Night Live, anything else that they do, Lorne Michaels gets a check for.
Okay.
If you ever look at any show,
Oh wow. Okay.
that any SNL person has ever done,
Okay.
30 Rock, where the Tina Fey did,
Oh, okay.
any show
Interesting.
that has ever been on, that a SNL alum has been on, you will see an executive producer credit of Lorne Michaels.
Oh,
on
wow.
Whatever they
Okay.
go to do.
Yeah.
So it must be in his contract.
Must be.
It's like Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Even if you don't get a deal, everybody blows up on Shark after being on Shark
Right.
Tank, so they get a piece of sales.
Okay.
So we'll talk after the show about that.
Well, I think
all right.
Lorne Michaels pays them to be on.
We got a few. We got a few more. Touche. We'll table that for later.
All right.
Follow up politely.
Yeah.
Right. There's a persistence factor here, and I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, and it was just like, well, Cory, I reached out to 20 people and nobody wanted to do anything. And I'm like, oh, okay. Call me when you reach out to 2,000.
Right.
Then we'll figure out if you got a problem. But like this idea that this is not raging, what is it, Bull Durham? Is that the movie? If you build it, they will come. Is that the movie that's from?
Oh, that's
No, Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Field of Two. I haven't seen
baseball movie,
either movie,
right.
but Field
Baseball,
of Dreams.
right.
I just know if you build. This is not if you build it, they will come.
right.
If you think you're going to email a producer at a morning show or media outlet,
Right.
I'm not talking about Gail's podcast with two viewers. She's just starting out. She's trying to get herself on. She's on episode 3, and she's gonna call you back fast,
Right.
right? Because she's particularly if it's guest driven, right?
Right.
But if you think you're reaching out to the producer of my old show, and she's just like, "Oh, great, some rando sent me a pitch,"
Right.
and I'm just calling them back right away. I gotta have this,
Right.
unless it's something so timely or so whatever in alignment, with something. It's a scandal. And you're the person next to the scandal, right? You're the ex-husband or wife of the scandal person, right? So unless it's just something so compelling, you're gonna have to stay in front of them.
Right. Yeah, and you talk about, well, I've emailed 20 people.
Yeah.
Well, email 200 people 20 times.
I had to get connected with somebody who connected with somebody to get a book on a producer's desk.
Right.
To then get a door open. I could still be emailing.
Right.
So, but you want to follow up and you want to be, be creative, but polite.
Creative, right.
Like,
consistent.
Yeah. So be available and responsive.
Right.
If a journalist responds or expresses interest, you got to be prompt, provide the information they need. And, in those environments, stick with what they're asking for.
Right.
I know you can talk about 10 other things.
Right.
I know you have 20 years experience in fixing elevators.
Right.
Or you're the go-to on closets, right? You're the Jay Pritchard of whatever it is.
Right.
Stick to what they're looking for.
Correct.
And you'll have plenty of time. I got to talk about everything I wanted to talk about. I had opportunities from a media perspective that, because I had earned credibility by talking about the things they needed me for initially,
Right.
they let me talk about whatever I wanted moving forward.
Yeah, they give you an opportunity. They give you some reach
It
because
was, all right, we want to have you back on Tuesday or whatever. Let me know what you're going to talk about.
Right.
I didn't have to pitch anymore.
Well, that's because you've already demonstrated your credibility by
Correct.
being on, talking
Correct.
about the things
Correct.
that they wanted you to talk
Correct.
about to their audience.
Yeah, and if I'd never been on, but yet I had another entity, or I was able to create an opportunity for me to showcase that knowledge, it makes sense. So,
Right.
And then the last thing is leverage your connections. I just talked about that. I knew somebody who knew
Right.
somebody. You know, I was on a
Right.
charity board, and they were in TV, and this, that, and the other, and that led to the path. So,
Correct.
You know, sometimes you gotta, you know, go through the side door or go through the back door if you can't go through the front door.
Right.
You know, come in through the ceiling.
Get through whatever
you
door
know,
you can get in. I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely. And you know, as far as media, I was contemplating I was going to do this, but I'm going to do it. You know, if you're concerned about media or like media training or being on or how to do a great interview,
right.
I have a course for that, and I'm going to do it free. If you're listening to this, send an email to hello@CoryMosley.com with the subject line media. If you do that, I will send you my media course. It's about an hour, so it's not, you know, it's not institutional
Right.
where you're graduating, but it's going to give you some very clear tips and tactics on how to do better interviews, particularly the section I call the Sacred Six. These are the 6 elements of a successful interview. If you have these 6 elements
Right.
in any interview that you do media-wise, you will come out like a star. And we also have a template in that kit, in that course, for emailing producers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were selling it originally.
That's awesome.
So we sold some of it, but now it's impromptu, kind of like, all right, I'll just give it away.
Well, if you're listening, then thank you. You get the benefit of it.
If you're listening, you get the benefit of this. So send an email to hello@CoryMosley.com. Subject is media, and my team will send you the course. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think we need to do a really.
This was such a finite topic that still stretched out, you know, with a lot of good information in it.
Well, there's, you know, we don't lack for the ability to talk about anything. Either, so, but here's the thing. Let's bring it all back together. Let's wrap it all up in a nice bow. If you don't already have something, when you talked about this is a little bit self-serving. Well, some of it's self-serving because you have a background in media. Some of it's self-serving because you have an opportunity to talk about some things that you know that aren't directly related to position for growth, but it falls underneath that marketing category.
Right.
And so what the reality of it, though, is to wrap it up in a neat little bow is that if you don't already have proof, you can get proof by working with the Mosley Strategy Group, by working with Cory and his team. And if you're not watching us on YouTube, it's a great excuse to go see what it looks like on YouTube because you could be sitting in this chair too.
That's right.
And so
100%.
if you don't already have your own media, if you don't already have a way to distinguish yourself, there's a way to get it. And it's worth looking into, especially if you're either trying to grow your business, you're trying to create some momentum, you're trying to capitalize on some momentum, you've got a unique perspective on something in your space.
I've got something to say. You've got expertise that you need to be sharing that people need to know about.
100%.
And you better believe it.
And you better believe it. I like it. And you can go, if you go to CoryMosley.com, you go right to the drop down under our services menu, and you'll see thought leadership interviews there. So just hit that link and then we'll talk more about what we do and how we can basically help you tell your story on demand. So give you immediate control over your media and have your message out in the market.
And the ability
ASAP.
to use it as a tool.
Yeah, of course. It becomes
marketing tool,
becomes
sales
intellectual
tool.
property. Yeah.
100%.
A marketing and sales tool. Excellent point. All right, that's going to do it today. We had a little long one today, but you know, media is so important. It's so impactful. So it's something we want to dedicate this show and episode to, because a lot of people are looking for ways to market themselves, and they're thinking about traditional marketing dollars.
Right.
They're thinking about Facebook ads. They're thinking about,
Right.
Val Pack mailers and all these things that have value in the marketplace. And they're skipping over, thought leadership.
Correct.
And the stats and the data are telling us that people are investing more in the companies and businesses that are educating them and making them feel educated about the problem that they have, not just giving them an advertisement on how they're going to solve the problem.
Yes. And people tend to resonate with people that they can see.
Yeah.
So if they can see you, they're going to feel more connected to you.
Yep. That's like everyone seeing this snazzy sport coat and these custom buttons that LG. So, LG's comment about where he's not being paid. So, because you can't get that off the rack. That's got custom orange insets there and some mother of pearl blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to go to YouTube just to see this white shirt that's got pizzazz.
Thank you.
All right, we're out of here. I said it 3 times, but we're actually legitimately leaving here. This has been another episode of the Grow Business Podcast. I'm your host, Cory Mosley, and on behalf of myself, LG007 Lon Graham, and Willie H., we want to thank you for listening, and we will see you next week. Willie H., take us out. We get somebody to record like, grow.
There you go.
Grow. There's somebody out there. I'm going to go to SoundCloud and see somebody. It's going to be a rap version. What? Who's that? Oh, okay. Well, no, we're not. I don't know what LG's talking about. LG's whispering on a hot mic. I don't even know how does that even work, LG?
Right.
Huh?
Right.
You gave up?
I did. I gave up.
Don't worry, we'll just put the transcript up, see if it caught you. You're already in hot water from last week.
There's a mute button.
Yeah, troublemaker.
There's a mute
Oh, almost lost my water. There's really water in here.
What did I say?
About QJ.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, once that's
Directing
done.
all emails to you. That's why I
Once
posted your home address.
Once that's done, it's done. There's no coming back from that.
Oh.
Yeah, that's...
All right.